There you can see the end now. You can just see that bunch of grass in the background. That's the last of the seeding grasses. I think we'll be about mid-July at this stage. You can see the birds have stripped it nearly bare, and they'll finish that off eventually. And then I use the red anjou millet sprays. Was needing live food. These birds also like a bit of egg food. Just which one to use depends on what you can get locally, I suppose. It's no good buying something and then finding that when your chicks need it again you can't get hold of it. The blue caps do want to breed. In this case, when they were failing, it was my fault. I hadn't quite got them right. What I've done recently is use hens that are over 12 months old with a young cock, and this I say has worked all right. Blue caps are easy to identify once they're in adult plumage. Cock has blue on top of its head, goes right over to the back, then has blue just above the beak area, but that goes into brown on top of the head. The cock's a richer colour overall than the hen. And this applies to the chicks as well. Born with a black beak, as you can see. The deeper colour blue of the chicks will be the cocks usually, and the paler ones will be the hens. When they first start feeding the chicks, initially as they're only tiny, there'll be very little egg food taken. This will increase as they get older. Eventually then start feeding them a bit more seed. They do like large nest baskets. They usually build from say 3 foot upwards in a flight, or nearer to the top of the cage, and they usually like them facing away from you instead of looking at you. Like blue caps, these cordons tend to build a nest together. Cock usually does most of the carrying of the material, and will do something to knock it into shape. And because they have long tails, what you usually find is that they'll have bent tails when they're incubating. This is a good sign to know they've started. This pair of young birds, so obviously nothing's happening with them in that department. Incubation's usually from 11 days onwards. Brooding stops between 8 and 12. In a cold environment, that's when the chicks are at risk. Clutches usually 4 to 6 eggs. Orange cheeks are one of my favourite birds. I'd hear this pair, well, I'd hear the cock calling and displaying from outside, so I've opened the door and come in, and this has stopped him. In recent times I've neglected my orange cheeks to concentrate on building up my blue caps and my red cheek cordons again. And I had hoped to convert my garage so that I could give these birds more space in a warm environment with proper full spectrum lighting. It's not all these birds will build in small cages, but I'm convinced that give them the right environment, and these birds will do a good job. They are easily disturbed and will usually come off the nest if you're about. As you can see, that orange under its vent, you can see it quite clearly. Obviously it helps to identify these birds, because there's a few times I've been trying to breed from two cocks, and that results in you know, all year wasted. Although they'll take live food, they're not as dependent on it as some species. They do better as single pairs than as a colony. Reddies are better as a colony, but these just interfere all the time with each other's nests. Most of these cordon blues are good parents. Many of them will raise single chicks, which is always a good sign. Can misbehave from time to time. They usually have another clutch underway no sooner than the chicks fledge. This will not stop them looking after both clutches, as some people seem to think. They are good breeding birds. The M violet is enjoying a bit of egg food and a few mini mealworms I've mixed in with it. Although some birds can be a nuisance in a collection, these young cordons, and there were quite a few of them, I never saw anything wrong from them towards any of the other birds or to their own parents all year. They just seem to enjoy playing about, enjoying themselves. It's a nice young hen. It's surprising how they tend to go to the same perch over and over again. I know this little bird, he were regularly seen on here. That crown waxbills have the habit of landing on all nest baskets, including their own species. This don't seem to bother their own kind, but it does have an effect on many of the other birds. And again, this is why it's far better to have pairs breeding in their own environment. cordon blues are preening. They're nowhere near as aggressive as the violeteers or the purple grenadiers. Oh, you can get the odd bird that goes over the top. Most of them don't. If you get a bird that's particularly aggressive towards the ends, it might be as well to get rid of that bird. And I have a mixed collection. I like reds and blues and a bit of the orange cheeks, and you can have various degrees of colour. These birds get on reasonably well. Gold breasts. The less birds you have, the better you seem to do. Overcrowding usually results in bad breeding. Both the blue caps and the red cheek cordon blue are both reliable breeders, and I can't see any reason why the blue breasted wouldn't be as well, if only we could get hold of them. Between each of the three species, they all have a different coloured beak. When you see birds like these orange cheeks in good light, they look very different to what you see in some of these halls that we have to visit for the big trade sales. And often some of those dealers, they'll have 20, 30, 40 birds in a cage. It's unlikely that you'll get the ones that you want. I prefer to look at the, well, if I can't get birds from a breeder, I'll look at the dealers that now have clean plastic cages or the white cages painted. The ones where they only have a few birds in each cage, so you get the birds that you want. There are dealers and there are dealers. Even at this young age, you'll see a bit of squabbling in a minute. It's a young cock in the middle, young hen on the right, older brother on the left. And the young cock doesn't like the older cock preening it. He wants him out of the way. As you can see, he's telling him off. He's now starting to show an interest in his sister. Although you can't see it very well on that young cock, I think you can just see a faint shadow where the cheek patches are going to come. It's in the very early stages at this point. Although some people prefer to mix several pairs of these birds together, I find I do better with just one pair on their own or in a mixed collection like this. Although I mix quite a few of them together over winter, as it comes to spring and the birds start to come back into condition, that's when the squabbling starts over which cock's going to get which hen. And that's when I have to split them up. They'll have been on a period over winter where they've been on a sparse diet, going through the molt, and then as spring approaches or it's getting near when I want to breed, I'll increase the protein and eventually start giving them a few mealworms to get them excited and help bring them into condition. Chick's just starting to feed itself. Here are the parents just going to top them up shortly. As you can see, they're climbing all over each other to get to the parents. They are just getting a bit of food. As you can see, there's a lot of red millet sprays both on the floor and hung in bunches, and this is where the chicks first start feeding. After this they're back down again to get a bit more food, then pop back up to feed the chicks again. It's a bit more like a war zone than a feeding, as they're climbing all over each other. I don't think this pair was such poor parents at the beginning of the season. Now they're doing so well feeding all these 6 chicks. Chicks are a bit bigger here. In a bit more of an orderly fashion. you look along the line, you might see that most of them are hens. You might just see a couple of cocks with more blue on them. These are some more golden finches that I was breeding. Ridiculous situation where I was breeding these birds to help me pay for the live food to feed the waxbills. It can take quite a while for these birds to molt through, that's the trouble, so it were taking up a lot of space and a lot of time that I wanted to concentrate on me waxbills.